The Serengeti is not merely a location, it is an ancient, living arena. It is an endless ocean of golden grass, shaped by fire, rain, and the relentless pounding of millions of hooves. For millions of years, the delicate balance of life and death here has been negotiated under a dome of infinite blue. It is a land of extremes, where the dry season cracks the earth and the wet season floods the plains. The animals born to this ecosystem are forged in the fires of constant visibility and blistering heat. The cheetah has traded power for breathtaking speed. The lion has traded solitude for the tactical supremacy of the pride. Every predator here understands the cardinal rule of the open plains. There is nowhere to hide. Into this finely tuned crucible steps a magnificent anomaly. A heavy, padded paw, the size of a dinner plate, presses down upon the parched red soil. The dust swirls around an impossibly thick forearm, corded with dense, explosive muscle. A low, guttural exhalation vibrates through the dry air. The camera slowly pans upward to reveal a creature that entirely contradicts the muted earth tones of Africa. It is a mature male Bengal tiger, weighing over 220 kilograms. He is a breathtaking vision of primal power, a phantom violently ripped from the shadows of the Asian wilderness. Under the harsh, unyielding glare of the midday sun, his presence is almost surreal. He is utterly, dangerously exposed. Evolution spent millennia painting his coat. His striking orange fur, fractured by bold, asymmetrical black stripes, is a masterpiece of natural engineering. In his native realm, the dense sal forests and towering bamboo thickets of India, he is a ghost. There, the stripes perfectly mimic the vertical interplay of sunlight and deep shadow, breaking up his massive outline. He can stand completely still in the jungle and become completely invisible to the naked eye. But here, the biological magic of his camouflage violently backfires. Against the pale, bleached yellow canvas of the dry savanna, he does not blend. He radiates. His vibrant coat screams his coordinates to every living creature within a 2-mile radius. He is a glowing beacon of orange and black, a glaring error in the visual language of the Serengeti. The tiger pauses, lowering his heavy, blocky head. His amber eyes, adapted to pierce the deepest jungle gloom, squint against the blinding glare. He is deeply disoriented. His sensory world has been turned upside down. The heavy, suffocating humidity of his homeland, thick with the scent of rotting vegetation and monsoon rain, is gone. In its place is a razor-dry wind that cracks his lips and pulls the moisture straight from his lungs. His thick, white vibrissae twitch nervously, trying to decode the unfamiliar air currents. His Jacobson's organ, the specialized scent-decoding tool on the roof of his mouth, tastes only dry dust, withered grass, and alien dung. He is blind in a world of scent. A deep, rumbling growl of frustration vibrates in his massive chest. Suddenly, his ears pivot forward. He hears the distant, rhythmic thudding of hooves against the baked earth. It is a sound that instantly bypasses his confusion and taps directly into his predatory core. Hunger, sharp and unforgiving, gnaws at his stomach lining. He has burned a tremendous amount of energy just trying to regulate his body temperature in this hellish heat. Driven by the desperate need for calories, the great cat instinctively shifts into hunting mode. He lowers his massive body until his white belly fur brushes the thorny ground. His shoulder blades rise high above his spine as he initiates a slow, agonizingly precise stalk. His target is a scattered herd of Thompson's gazelles, grazing nervously in the distance. In the dense undergrowth of the jungle, this distance would be a trivial obstacle. He would flow through the ferns like liquid gold, completely silent, using every fallen log and leafy bush as a shield. He attempts to apply these ancestral tactics to the sparse African grass. He places each massive paw with surgical care, his muscles burning with the effort of controlled, slow-motion movement. His eyes lock onto a young female gazelle on the edge of the herd. His focus narrows to a laser point, but he is playing a jungle game on a savanna board. This is an open arena, an evolutionary laboratory, where prey animals have survived by developing phenomenal eyesight and paranoid collective vigilance. The gazelles do not rely on dense cover to hide. They rely on seeing the predator long before it enters striking distance. They are the masters of the horizon. The tiger has barely managed to crawl 30 yards when the hot wind abruptly changes direction. A sudden, violent gust carries his heavy, musky scent directly across the open plain. Instantly, the savanna's early warning system is triggered. A sentinel gazelle snaps its head up, ripping its mouth away from the dry grass. Its large ears swivel like finely tuned radar dishes. Its large, dark eyes scan the landscape, piercing the heat haze. It takes only a fraction of a second for the gazelle to spot the massive, glaring orange anomaly crawling through the pale grass. A sharp, sneezing alarm call shatters the heavy silence of the afternoon. The sound ripples through the herd like a current of electricity. Dozens of heads snap up in perfect unison. The gazelles do not panic immediately. Instead, they begin to pronk. They bounce high into the air on stiff legs, displaying their fitness and agility. It is a psychological tactic, a clear biological message to the predator. We have seen you, we are faster than you, and a chase will be a waste of your time. The tiger stops dead in his tracks. His ears flatten against his skull in visible frustration. The element of surprise, his single most lethal weapon, has been completely neutralized before the hunt even began. He slowly rises from his crouch, his immense size finally revealed in full to the terrified herd. The gazelles instantly scatter, their slender legs carrying them away at speeds exceeding 50 miles per hour. They are blurs of tan and white, vanishing into the shimmering distance. The tiger does not even attempt to pursue them. He is a master of the explosive ambush, designed to unleash maximum power over a distance of perhaps 20 yards. He is not a marathon runner. To sprint across the open plains under a 40-degree sun would not just be futile, it would be fatal. Hypothermia would kill him faster than starvation. He stands completely alone in the vast emptiness, watching his meal disappear. The failure stings his pride, but the physical toll of the environment is far worse. The African sun is a relentless, punishing enemy. His thick coat, perfectly evolved to insulate him against the freezing rains and cool nights of the Asian monsoon, is now a deadly trap. It holds his body heat inside, turning him into a walking furnace. He begins to pant heavily, his jaw hanging open, his long pink tongue lolling out to maximize evaporation. His chest heaves violently. Every single step he takes drains precious moisture and energy. His massive size, usually his greatest advantage when wrestling down a massive water buffalo, has become a severe liability in the open. Gravity feels heavier here. The light feels like a physical weight pressing down on his spine. Desperate for relief, he drags his heavy frame toward the meager shade of a solitary, weathered termite mound. He collapses onto his side, pressing his flank desperately against the slightly cooler dirt. He closes his eyes against the blinding glare. The undisputed king of the Asian jungle has been humbled in his very first hour on this new continent. He realizes, with primal, terrifying clarity, that raw muscular strength is utterly useless if it cannot be applied effectively. He is a stranger in a strange, hostile land, surrounded by invisible boundaries, unfamiliar scents, and unwritten laws of survival. If he continues to hunt like a tiger of the jungle, he will surely die like a common, starving scavenger. He must forget everything his ancestors have taught him over millions of years. He must unlearn the jungle. The sun continues its slow, agonizing crawl across the vast, endless sky. The tiger waits, trapped in the agonizing limbo between his crushing hunger and the lethal, oppressive heat. He watches the shadows slowly begin to stretch and lengthen across the cracked red earth. He knows that when the light finally dies, this hostile world will transform. He knows that his time will come when the sun disappears. But until then, he must endure the burning gaze of the African sky, an alien phantom exposed for the entire savanna to see. As the great burning eye of the sun finally dips below the horizon, the Serengeti undergoes a profound and rapid transformation. The merciless heat of the day dissipates, replaced by a sudden, biting chill that sweeps across the endless plains. The sky bleeds from harsh, blinding white into deep, bruised purples, and finally, into the velvety black of an African night. For the exhausted Bengal tiger, this darkness is not a source of fear. It is a familiar, comforting embrace. It is the great equalizer. In the shadows, the fatal flaw of his glowing orange coat is instantly erased. His bold black stripes now melt seamlessly into the ambient darkness, rendering his massive frame entirely invisible. His physiology, heavily punished by the daytime heat, now thrives in the cool nocturnal air. His heart rate slows, his heavy panting ceases, and a lethal calmness settles over him. Behind his amber irises lies a biological marvel known as the tapetum lucidum, a mirror-like layer that reflects even the faintest starlight back through his retinas. His night vision is 6 times more powerful than that of a human. While the savanna's grazing herbivores are plunged into vulnerability, the tiger's sensory world expands exponentially. He rises from his daytime sanctuary, his muscles coiled and rejuvenated. The agonizing hunger from his earlier failure now sharpens his focus into a singular, predatory drive. He begins to move, his immense padded paws navigating the dry earth with absolute, terrifying silence. The wind, previously a traitor that carried his scent to the gazelles, has shifted direction. It now blows steadily against his face, bringing him a wealth of vital information. He tastes the air, his Jacobson's organ decoding the complex chemical signatures of the night. He detects the heavy, musky odor of a large congregation of animals ahead. Moving with the fluid grace of liquid mercury, he advances through the sparse, knee-high grass. Through the gloom, the dark silhouettes of a massive herd of blue wildebeests emerge. They are restless, constantly shifting, their heavy hooves stomping the ground in nervous anticipation. In his native Indian jungles, the tiger is accustomed to hunting solitary, highly alert sambar deer or grazing wild boars in dense undergrowth. He is completely unfamiliar with the sheer scale of an African megaherd. He does not know that these strange, bearded beasts rely on a collective defense mechanism. The herd possesses hundreds of eyes, hundreds of ears, and hundreds of nostrils, constantly monitoring the perimeter. To approach them in daylight would be pure folly, but tonight, the moon is hidden behind thick, rolling clouds, casting the plains into an abyss of pitch black. It is the perfect theater for an ambush predator. The tiger selects his target, a large, heavy male wildebeest lingering slightly on the outer fringe of the herd. He drops his belly to the dirt, transforming his 200-kilogram body into a flattened, creeping shadow. Every movement is calculated, every step placed only when the wind rustles the dry grass to mask his approach. He crawls closer, closing the distance meter by agonizing meter. 40 yards, 30 yards, 20 yards. The wildebeest continues to chew the dry grass, entirely oblivious to the apex assassin lurking just beyond its field of vision. The tiger's muscles tense, drawing back like a massive organic bowstring. His hind legs, thick as tree trunks, dig firmly into the compacted earth. He calculates the trajectory, the wind speed, and the exact moment of impact. Then, the jungle phantom strikes. He explodes from the darkness with terrifying, blinding speed. He does not roar, he does not make a sound until the final fraction of a second. In 3 massive bounds, he covers the 20 yards, launching his colossal frame through the air. The wildebeest only has time to let out a short, terrified grunt before the impact hits. The sheer kinetic energy of the collision is devastating. An African lioness would typically need the assistance of her pride sisters to safely drag down a mature wildebeest of this size. They would latch onto the flanks, the back, and the throat, relying on coordinated teamwork to exhaust the prey. But the male Bengal tiger operates on an entirely different scale of solitary raw power. His massive forearms, armed with retractable claws the size of butcher hooks, wrap around the wildebeest's thick neck and shoulders. The sheer weight and momentum of his strike violently crush the herbivore to the ground in an explosion of dust and flailing limbs. The tiger's jaws, driven by one of the strongest bite forces of any big cat, clamp down with lethal precision. He bypasses the suffocating throat bite common to lions. Instead, he utilizes his ancestral jungle tactic, driving his 4-inch canine teeth directly into the back of the wildebeest's neck. There is a sharp, sickening crunch as the cervical vertebrae are instantly severed. The struggle is over, almost before it begins. The massive herd of wildebeests scatters in blind panic, their hooves thundering away into the night, leaving their fallen herd member behind. The tiger stands over his monumental kill, his chest heaving, his amber eyes glowing in the darkness. He drags the heavy carcass a short distance, attempting to find a thicket or a dense bush to hide his prize. But this is the Serengeti, not the lush forests of Ranthambore. There is no canopy to hide under, No dense bamboo to obscure the smell. He settles down in the open, his massive jaws tearing into the nutrient-rich flesh. For this fleeting moment, he is the undisputed master of his environment once again. He has successfully adapted his jungle lethality to the open plains. He eats voraciously, desperately replenishing the massive calories burned during his hellish daytime ordeal. The sweet taste of survival floods his senses. But the African savanna is a deeply interconnected web of life and death, where no action goes unnoticed. As his powerful jaws rip through hide and muscle, a rich metallic scent begins to pool in the cool night air. The wind catches the heavy aroma of fresh blood and carries it far across the dark horizon. It travels over the dry riverbeds, through the thorny acacia groves, and across the open grasslands. In the deep shadows, hidden ears twitch, powerful sloped shoulders rise from the dust. The dinner bell of the savanna has just been rung. The tiger does not yet realize that in Africa, making a kill is often the easiest part of the night. The true war for survival is holding on to it. The feast begins in the heart of the darkness. The Bengal tiger tears into the rich, dark meat of the wildebeest, his massive jaws easily shearing through muscle and sinew. For a brief, triumphant moment, the agonizing struggles of his first day are forgotten. He consumes massive quantities of food, his biological imperative driving him to gorge before the meat spoils in the impending heat. But the African savanna is an acoustic and olfactory theater where no secret can be kept for long. The metallic, heavy scent of freshly spilled blood is snatched up by the cool night wind. It acts as an invisible beacon, broadcasting a clear and irresistible invitation across miles of open grassland. Deep in the surrounding darkness, the undisputed opportunists of the Serengeti are already mobilizing. It begins with a sound that has no equivalent in the tiger's Asian homeland. A low, rising whoop echoes across the plains, haunting and incredibly loud. It is an eerie, sweeping vocalization that starts deep and ends in a high-pitched, mournful wail. The tiger pauses mid-bite, his ears swiveling frantically to pinpoint the source. Then, another whoop answers from a different direction, and another. Soon, the night is filled with a chilling, maniacal chorus of giggles, grunts, and shrieks. Glowing eyes, reflecting the faint starlight, begin to materialize in the tall grass. First a pair, then 5, then a dozen. A clan of 30 spotted hyenas has arrived to claim their tax. In the dense jungles of India, the tiger is the unquestioned sovereign of his kills. If a solitary leopard dared to approach, the smaller cat would quickly retreat or drag the carcass high into the sturdy branches of a sal tree. Occasionally, a pack of Asiatic wild dogs, known as dholes, might attempt a standoff, but they lack the sheer mass and crushing power of the hyena. Furthermore, the jungle provides endless thickets, deep ravines, and impenetrable bamboo, where a tiger can drag its prize to dine in absolute secrecy. Here, on the exposed, flat anvil of the savanna, there are no hiding places. The scattered, thorny acacia trees are far too flimsy and narrow to support a 200-kilogram cat and a heavy carcass. The tiger is forced to defend his prize on the ground, in the open, completely surrounded. The hyena clan does not attack immediately. They are highly intelligent, highly social predators, operating under a strict matriarchal hierarchy. They fan out, forming a loose, tightening circle around the tiger and the fallen wildebeest. They are assessing the intruder. They have never seen an animal with such vibrant, contrasting stripes, nor have they encountered a feline of such terrifying, immense proportions. A lioness weighs perhaps 130 kilograms. This striped alien outweighs her by nearly 100 more. The tiger issues a warning. He lowers his massive head, exposing 4-inch canine teeth, and unleashes a roar. It is not a simple vocalization. It is a concussive shockwave of pure aggression. The sound violently rattles the dry air and vibrates through the soil itself. The sheer volume and bass of the roar cause the front line of hyenas to instinctively flinch and scatter backwards. For a moment, the brute intimidation works, but hyenas are not easily deterred by mere sound. They are built for a war of attrition. Their sloping backs, massive necks, and bone-crushing jaws are designed for brutal, exhausting combat. The matriarch, a large, heavily scarred female, initiates the psychological warfare. She darts forward, snapping her jaws just inches from the tiger's hindquarters, then instantly retreats. As the tiger spins around with lightning speed to swat at her, another hyena lunges from the opposite side to tear a chunk of flesh from the wildebeest. The siege has officially begun. The tiger is forced into a frantic, dizzying dance of defense. He strikes out with massive paws, each swipe carrying enough kinetic energy to shatter a hyena's skull. He manages to catch one reckless juvenile, sending it tumbling through the dust with a yelp of pain. But for every one he repels, 3 more take its place. They coordinate their harassment with terrifying, military-like precision. The cacophony of their maniacal laughing and whooping is designed to disorient and terrify their target. This is where the tiger's biology turns against him once more. He is a masterpiece of fast-twitch muscle fibers, engineered by evolution for explosive, short-burst ambushes. He can summon devastating power for 10 or 15 seconds. He is not designed for a marathon battle. Every time he roars, every time he lunges, every time he spins to protect his flanks, he burns through his oxygen and energy reserves at a catastrophic rate. The hyenas, conversely, possess immense stamina. They can trot for hours and fight relentlessly without tiring. They are not trying to kill the tiger. They are simply waiting for his muscular exhaustion to set in. The battle rages for hours under the indifferent gaze of the moon. The tiger is bleeding energy. His heavy, ragged breathing cuts through the hyena chatter. Thick strings of saliva hang from his jaws. His legs, thick as tree trunks, begin to tremble slightly from the sustained, agonizing exertion. The psychological toll of being surrounded, harassed, and mocked by the laughing scavengers is breaking his focus. Slowly, inevitably, the eastern horizon begins to bleed from black to a pale, bruised purple. Dawn is approaching. With the light comes the promise of the merciless African sun. The temperature begins to climb almost immediately. The tiger realizes, with the cold, hard logic of survival, that he cannot win this war. If he continues to fight, he will overheat and collapse from sheer exhaustion. To die over a single meal is a failure of evolution. He must cut his losses. With one final furious snarl that scatters the closest scavengers, the Bengal tiger slowly backs away. He leaves the half-eaten wildebeest in the dust. Instantly, the hyena clan swarms the carcass, their jaws cracking thick bones with sickening ease. The tiger retreats into the tall grass, his belly only partially full, his muscles screaming with fatigue. He has survived the night, but Africa has just taught him a brutal, unforgiving lesson. In this endless, open arena, brute strength is nothing without the endurance to protect it. The African dawn does not arrive with the gentle, misty embrace of the Indian jungle. It breaks with a violent, searing intensity, painting the eastern horizon in hues of bruised purple and blistering orange. For the Bengal tiger, the rising sun is no longer a symbol of a new day. It is the glaring eye of his ultimate, most merciless enemy. He has survived the grueling, humiliating siege of the hyena clan, but the victory is completely hollow. His stomach, only partially filled by the stolen wildebeest carcass, twists with a renewed, deep-seated ache. But hunger is rapidly becoming a secondary concern. A far more terrifying, insidious threat is beginning to systematically shut down his massive body. It is the sheer, inescapable reality of dehydration. Evolution has meticulously engineered this apex predator for a world overflowing with moisture. In the dense, shadowy depths of the Sundarbans or the lush valleys of Ranthambore, water is a constant companion. Tigers are semi-aquatic felines, relying heavily on deep pools and flowing rivers to regulate their core temperature. They lack the highly specialized sweat glands of humans or the hyper-efficient heat-dissipating nasal passages of the African lion. Beneath the blazing, 40°C sun of the open savanna, the tiger's thick, magnificent coat acts like a thermal death trap. It traps his own body heat, driving his internal temperature dangerously high. He walks with a slow, heavy, mechanical gait, his massive paws dragging through the dry, thorny brush. The golden grass, baked brittle by the relentless dry season, crunches loudly beneath his weight. Waves of visible heat shimmer and warp the landscape ahead, turning the distant acacia trees into distorted, liquid mirages. His breathing is no longer the deep, powerful rhythm of a healthy predator. It has devolved into a shallow, ragged, desperate panting. Thick, foamy saliva hangs from his lower jaw, coating his chin in a sticky, dusty paste. His deep amber eyes, usually burning with absolute focus, are now bloodshot and sunken. Every single step is a monumental effort, a draining battle against the crushing gravity of his own 200-kilogram frame. He is walking a terrifyingly thin line between mere exhaustion and fatal hypothermia. The sky above him is a dome of flawless, unforgiving blue, devoid of even a single solitary cloud. High above in the thermal updrafts, the grim reapers of the savannah are already circling. Lappet-faced vultures and white-backed scavengers glide effortlessly on the hot winds. They watch the stumbling striped giant with cold, patient calculation. They know, with millions of years of inherited instinct, that the savannah always wins in a battle of endurance. The tiger must find water, or he will not survive the afternoon. He forces his exhausted brain to process the sensory data of this alien world. He ignores the confusing, dry sense of dust and withered vegetation. He searches for the faint, distinct chemical signature of moisture, a ghost of humidity hiding in the arid air. He drops his massive head closer to the cracked earth, his white vibrissae twitching weakly. Suddenly, a subtle shift in the wind carries a microscopic trace of dampness. It is faint, almost imperceptible, but to the desperate feline, it is a lifeline. He alters his course, dragging his heavy body toward a subtle depression in the endless flat landscape. As he crests a small rise, the terrain abruptly drops away before him. He has stumbled upon a donga, an ancient, deeply carved dry riverbed that cuts through the plains like a jagged scar. The river that once flowed here has long since surrendered to the dry season. The bottom is a chaotic jumble of smooth, white stones, twisted roots, and cracked, grey clay. There is no shimmering surface of water to greet him. He lets out a low, mournful chuff of utter despair. But driven by pure blind instinct, he slides down the steep, eroded bank, his heavy claws leaving deep gouges in the dirt. He reaches the deepest, lowest point of the trench. Here, shadowed by the steep, overhanging dirt walls, the cruel geometry of the savannah finally works in his favor. The thick layer of mud at the bottom, though seemingly dry on the surface, still holds a precious remnant of the rainy season deep within. The tiger collapses violently onto his side. He begins to frantically dig with his massive, heavily muscled forepaws. He scoops away the top layer of hard, baked clay, sending showers of dust into the still air. Underneath, the earth is dark, heavy, and wonderfully cool. He presses his overheated belly, his chest, and his heavy jaw directly into the damp soil. The sudden, shocking transfer of temperature is absolute ecstasy. He closes his eyes, letting the cool mud slowly drain the lethal heat from his boiling blood. His erratic, ragged breathing begins to stabilize, deepening into a steady, rhythmic sigh. For hours, he lies motionless in the bottom of the trench, a fallen king taking refuge in a muddy, subterranean tomb. But as his body temperature normalizes, his cognitive functions return with terrifying clarity. He opens his eyes and looks at the steep, vertical walls of dirt that surround him on both sides. He looks at the twisted, overhanging roots of the acacia trees that cast long, dark, vertical shadows across his striped coat. A profound, evolutionary realization washes over him. He is no longer exposed on the flat, blinding anvil of the open savannah. The donga has given him the one thing he has desperately lacked since his arrival. It has given him deep, impenetrable cover. The vertical lines of the shadows perfectly break up his massive orange and black silhouette. In the deep shade of the riverbed, the jungle phantom has finally found his element. His hunger returns, sharper and more demanding than ever before. But this time, he will not drag himself out into the sun to chase gazelles he can never catch. He will use the brutal topography of Africa against its own inhabitants. He pulls his massive body into a low, predatory crouch, pressing himself flush against the darkest section of the eroded wall. He becomes a completely silent, invisible statue of muscle and bone. The savannah is about to wake up from its midday slumber. The herds will soon begin to move, driven by the same desperate thirst that brought the tiger to this trench. They will have to cross the donga to reach the grazing grounds on the other side. The striped assassin waits in the shadows, his amber eyes locked onto the rim of the trench above. He is no longer the hunted, stumbling alien. He has become the ultimate hidden trap. The sun reaches its absolute, punishing zenith, transforming the vast Serengeti into a silent, shimmering oven. Most animals seek the meager shelter of the scattered acacia trees, standing motionless to conserve energy and moisture. But for the massive herds of herbivores that rely on constant movement to find fresh grazing, the journey across the hostile plains must continue. A herd of plains zebras steadily approaches the edge of the donga. They are incredibly cautious, high-strung creatures. Their striking black and white stripes act as a confusing optical illusion to predators when they move en masse across the flat, open ground. However, their primary defense mechanism is their collective, paranoid vigilance and their incredibly powerful, bone-shattering kicks. As they near the lip of the steep, eroded riverbed, the lead stallion stops. His ears swivel like radar dishes, listening for the faintest rustle in the dry grass. His dark eyes scan the flat horizon, searching for the low, creeping silhouettes of a lion pride or the spotted coats of cheetahs hidden in the yellow brush. He looks far across the plains, but he does not look down into the dark, shadowed depths of the trench. African predators, accustomed to hunting on the flat surface, rarely attack from below the earth. In the deep, cooling shade of the dry riverbed's clay wall, the Bengal tiger is waiting. He is no longer a glowing, exposed target. In the gloom of the trench, his vibrant orange coat is muted, and his bold black stripes perfectly mimic the thick, hanging roots and vertical shadows cast by the overhanging banks. He has become a perfectly integrated component of the terrain. He hears the rhythmic, heavy clatter of hooves striking the baked earth directly above his head. The dusty, musky scent of zebra floods his Jacobson's organ, sending a jolt of pure predatory adrenaline straight to his heart. He does not flatten his body to crawl as he did in his failed morning hunt. Instead, he gathers his massive, heavily muscled hind legs beneath him, digging his thick claws deep into the damp mud for maximum traction. He calculates the trajectory and distance, not across an open field, but vertically upward. The large lead stallion takes a hesitant step over the lip of the donga, carefully placing its front hooves on the steep, rocky slope to begin the descent to the crossing point. The moment the zebra's line of sight is obscured by the downward angle, the tiger unleashes the full, terrifying, explosive power of his jungle biology. He explodes vertically from the shadows. It is a breathtaking, terrifying display of raw kinetic energy. A mature Bengal tiger is capable of leaping over 10 feet straight into the air from a complete standstill. To the zebra, it seems as if the very earth has ripped open to birth a massive, striped, roaring demon from the underworld. This upward, aerial ambush is completely outside the zebra's evolutionary programming. There is no time to execute a warning bark, no time to wheel around and deliver a defensive kick, no time to flee. The massive cat hits the stallion with the unstoppable force of a freight train. Over 220 kilograms of dense muscle and heavy bone slam directly into the herbivore's broad chest. Two massive forepaws, armed with retractable claws as thick and sharp as butcher hooks, wrap violently around the zebra's neck and shoulders. The impact knocks the breath from the stallion's lungs, and predator and prey tumble backward down the steep, dusty slope in a chaotic, violent avalanche of striped bodies. Before they even hit the muddy bottom of the trench, the tiger's jaws find their lethal mark. He bypasses the suffocating muzzle bite, often used by lions, executing his perfect, ancestral throat bite. His 4-inch canines puncture the thick hide, crushing the windpipe with a bite force that dwarfs that of any other big cat on the savannah. The struggle is intense and violent, but mercifully brief. The thick dust slowly settles in the bottom of the dry riverbed. Above them, the rest of the zebra herd scatters in a blind, panicked stampede, their hooves thundering away across the open plains, leaving their fallen leader behind in the shadows. The Bengal tiger stands victorious over his colossal prize. His chest heaves, pulling the dusty air into his lungs, but his amber eyes burn with a renewed, savage light. This time, however, there is no triumphant pause. There is no leisurely resting to catch his breath. The brutal, humiliating lesson of his first night surrounded by the hyena clan, is deeply burned into his neurocircuitry. He knows that in Africa, the clock starts ticking the second blood hits the dirt. The metallic scent of the kill is already rising on the hot thermal updrafts. The lappet-faced vultures will spot it from the stratosphere in minutes, and their descent will signal the hyenas and the lions. He tears into the heavy carcass with a frantic, aggressive, almost desperate urgency. He consumes massive chunks of rich, dark meat, gorging himself as fast as his biology will physically allow. He is no longer eating like an untouchable king who owns his kill. He is eating like a thief who knows the authorities are closing in. He eats until his belly is visibly, painfully distended with over 30 kilograms of meat. Then, without a moment's hesitation or a single glance backward, he abandons the remainder of the carcass in the dirt. He uses his powerful legs to scramble back up the steep wall of the donga. He slinks into the thickest patch of thorny acacia scrub he can find, melting away into the shadows completely before the first cackling whoop of a hyena can break the afternoon silence. He has done the impossible. He has unlearned the laws of the jungle and successfully decoded the brutal rules of the savannah. The Serengeti is a merciless, unforgiving arena that punishes the weak and rapidly eradicates the inflexible. The Bengal tiger has survived this alien world not by relying solely on his immense brute force, but by a miracle of neuroplasticity and intelligence. He has learned that under the open sun, his massive strength is a fatal liability. He has learned that the darkness is his only reliable shield, the dry, eroded riverbeds are his only viable ambush points, and sheer speed of consumption is his only defense against the endless, overwhelming hordes of African scavengers. He will never be the outright, undisputed king of the open plains. That sun-drenched throne belongs permanently to the lion pride. He will forever live on the absolute fringes of this society, a solitary, massive ghost haunting the dry dongas and the moonless nights. But against all biological odds, the striped alien has carved out a bloody, hidden empire in a land where evolution dictates he should not exist. The ultimate apex predator has adapted to an entirely new world in a single lifetime. He is the jungle phantom, the deadliest, most invisible secret of the open sun. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a comment below sharing your thoughts on this ultimate clash of predators. Would a tiger survive in your eyes? Let us know.